I am trying to demean someone whatsoever, but the truth can speak for itself. And the truth that we can take note from during the time of BT, at the closer to the end or the twilight of the inclusive government, we all know that civil servants were getting 500 something US dollars. Right now, they are not even getting something, even half of it.
Citizens criticize Zimbabwe's economic leadership under Mthuli Ncube, compared to Tendai-Biti's 2009 to 2013 tenure. Across Zimbabwe's political and civic landscape, public debate continues to intensify regarding the country's economic direction under the Second Republic led by President Emmerson Mnangagwa, with Professor Mthuli Ncube serving as Minister of Finance. Many citizens, analysts, and business groups frequently compare the current administration's economic performance to the period of the 2009-2013 Government of National Unity (GNU), during which Tendai-Biti served as finance minister. This comparison has become a central talking point among critics who argue that Biti's tenure provided better economic stability and leadership than what Zimbabwe is experiencing today. A common concern raised by citizens is the ongoing instability of the Zimbabwean currency. People point to repeated episodes of currency depreciation, abrupt shifts in monetary regimes, and the introduction of new currency systems such as the bond note, RTGS, ZWL, and, more recently, the ZiG. Many Zimbabweans argue that these changes have undermined business confidence, destroyed personal savings, and made long-term planning almost impossible. The period under BT, which used a multi-currency system anchored by the US dollar, is often remembered for its stability, and many citizens contrast that with the volatility seen under the current administration. Inflation remains one of the most cited grievances. Throughout much of Ncube's tenure, Zimbabwe has experienced sharply rising prices, which have significantly increased the cost of living. Salaries have struggled to keep pace with inflation, and households report diminished purchasing power and worsening economic hardship. Critics argue that these inflationary pressures reflect deeper policy weaknesses, including inconsistent monetary strategy and undisciplined expansion of money supply. They contrast this with the GNU era, when hyperinflation was brought to an abrupt halt and prices remained relatively stable. Citizens also raise concerns about weak job creation and slow industrial recovery. Despite government statements about reindustrialization and economic reform, many Zimbabweans observe limited formal employment opportunities and continued struggles among local industries. Businesses cite policy unpredictability as a major obstacle to investment. In contrast, the GNU period is remembered for signs of revival, factories reopening, improved investor confidence, and more predictable policy conditions that encouraged economic activity. Supporters of Biti's record often argue that fiscal management during the GNU was more disciplined, transparent, and accountable. They point out that government spending was kept under tighter control, and that the political balance within the unity government helped restrain corruption and financial leakages. Even though structural problems remained unresolved, many Zimbabweans believe that governance during the GNU provided a level of economic certainty that is currently lacking. These criticisms directed at Mthuli Ncube often expand into broader critiques of Zanu PF's ability to lead the nation's economy. Citizens who hold this view argue that the ruling party has struggled to deliver sustainable economic improvements during its uninterrupted periods in power. They highlight issues such as persistent inflation, currency crises, limited job creation, and public corruption scandals as evidence of systemic leadership failures. To these critics, the difference between the GNU era and the current administration demonstrates that Zanu PF on its own has difficulty implementing consistent and credible economic reforms. Government officials, however, offer a different perspective. They argue that they inherited an economy already weakened by decades of instability, sanctions, and structural imbalances. They also cite external factors such as droughts, global shocks, and the COVID-19 pandemic as major disruptions that hampered progress. The administration maintains that recent policy measures, including the ZiG currency reforms, investment programs, and debt clearance initiatives, will eventually deliver sustainable stability and growth. The ongoing debate reflects deep frustration among many Zimbabweans who feel that their living standards have not meaningfully improved under the Mnangagwa and Ncube administration. Whether one agrees with the critics or with the government's defense, it is clear that many citizens believe Tendai Bidhi's 2009 to 2013 leadership delivered stronger economic stability and predictability. Their comparisons underscore a widespread desire for consistent policies, currency stability, transparency, and tangible improvements in everyday livelihoods.
I am trying to demean someone whatsoever, but the truth can speak for itself. And the truth that we can take note from during the time of BT, at the closer to the end or the twilight of the inclusive government, we all know that civil servants were getting 500 something US dollars. Right now, they are not even getting something, even half of it. Right? If you invest,
through a
professors are
$1.5 billion deficit.
if
funds I'm taking with right? With money
I
that you
think
don't have. Yet you
I
say
think
BT can balance the budget.
I think let me stress this before host, co-host, and co-host. The problem of trying to disrespect other people will end up having another problem, because I think Mugabe akambotaura nerimwe zuva akati hondo dzacho tinodzigonawo futi. So I don't want to go to hondo dzacho tinodzigonawo futi. What is needed when you are speaking, no one has even tried to hold his mic or whatsoever, open his mic and become disrespectful. So let's not try to go to that side of life. We know kuti tikada kudzitanga hadziperi, ende kana ndaitanga inini kune vanhu vachatouya vakawanda vanenge vaida kutoiitawo futi, vaida kungopruvha iwewe kuva wrong. So I don't want to go to that point, and I don't want to go to that kind of a system. I am not here to disrupt you. I never disrupted you. So please respect whoever that you see. Even though I am ugly, like who I am, please respect me. I deserve a voice. So let me go back to what I was talking about. Whether I want to use a happiness level, you can see that there was a difference. Even if you want to use wage level, they were different as well. So if you just come and say, no, there was a deficit, sometimes these budget deficits, they can be there, but remember, it is the way how you manage them. It is not your emotions that can change them. It is the way how you manage it. And I, from the progressive school of thought, I can tell you like this to say, okay, you know what? In economics, if you find yourself having a budget that has got zero deficit, the problem of that budget, right? Because it becomes an austere budget, which is austerity. What will be the problem? You will not raise aggregate demand, right? And remember, aggregate demand is going to, if the economy is functioning well, aggregate demand can even stimulate supply on its own. Don't be like that French guy, Bastet, who was saying, no, supply can create its own demand. I think if you are an economist, you know what I'm talking about. You have gone through this evolution of economic thought. You know about it, to say we started with a man during that time, and we went on to mercantilists, right, who were believing in zero-sum economics, where they are saying, no, you don't have to import, you just only have to export. And I don't want to go there, because I know what I know, and I don't want it to sound as if I'm here to give anyone any economics lecture. What is important at this point is to look at ministers, their differences, where they are coming from, what do they do, right? Because I can even like point out to say, if you got your AI, it tells you that the ongoing instability, high inflation, currency crisis is characterized with Mutuli. So I don't want to go there and try to say, okay, have you seen two currencies that have failed under Mutuli Ncube? One is RTGS, right? Discarded by the 4th of April, 2024. New one comes in 5th of April, 2024, which is called ZIG. That has failed to gain acceptance, right? That's why I was questioning to say, look, guys, whenever you want to talk about a comparison, you have got these things on your table, but you are looking to say, okay, Mutuli, you came up and issue with your government that you have right now, you came up and issue a currency that you don't use yourself. Tiri kuona muchidhisha ma-US dollar kunze uko, but mune currency yenyu. Zvinoita here kuti nhai vehama, ndinouyawo pamba penyu ndichishanya, moya monditi ndidye munya wenyu kana kuti muradza wenyu, imimi mondotenga KFC kunze uko, moti inini ndichidya manje muradza wamabika imimi. Zvinoita here? The answer is no. So there is no comparison there. Mutuli is just a total failure. Why? Because you are looking particularly to say, in order for you to grow an economy, that's why I gave you, right? Right now you are saying we are growing our economy at 5%. 5% according to me, I would say, okay, this is a expansionary fiscal policy and maybe expansionary monetary policy. Let's hold them together and come up with a comparison. You can't have an economy that has got 35% since you have introduced your ZIG. Up to now, you never even changed. And there is no rock that can be disintegrated into C2 or C2 as a result of only experiencing freezing. There should be an interchange of freezing and thawing for that rock to be what? Disintegrated. Now here's the problem. Mutuli is telling you that not Mutuli actually, because I'm talking about a monetary policy right now. You have got your interest rate at 35%. It has been there. It was not changed ever since. What does that tell you? The economy is not growing. It's not even absorbing any signal. Why? Because the interest rate is still at is still fixed actually. So you can't grow an economy with a fixed interest rate. You need to adjust it, raising it when aggregate demand is high, reducing it when aggregate demand is what? Reducing it when aggregate demand is what? Dampened. So that's what you do. But when you have got a fixed interest rate, you are not growing any economy. Maybe you are growing rituals. I don't know. Don't let me say, don't associate me with those kind of economics. And I don't belong to that kind of economics where someone tells you that we are growing an economy. Oh, you are growing an economy. How do you grow an economy? No, we only have got fixed 35% interest rate. What does that tell you? The economy is not growing.
Bring it in.
So that's how it is. So when you go as well, just give me like 2 minutes. When you go as well to look at fiscal policy, you can't grow an economy where taxes are exorbitant to the extent that by the end of the day, people are left with less disposable income. What grows an economy is disposable income. The more disposable income that you have, the more growth that you can enjoy. That's why now from there, the multiplier effect can be felt to the people. But as long as you don't have that, you are not, there is no economy there is no economic growth that can be sustained at 5% when poor people do not have safety nets. So in this case, we are just enjoying propaganda, and because we want to make our president witchy with lies, not allowing people to feel that growth, because the growth should be inclusive, right? And remember, if you go to Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, there is a goal that tells you that there must be what? Sustainable growth, which is inclusive, right? There is also another issue that I want to mention. There is also energy that should be looked at. Do we have got enough energy right now as a country? The answer is no. We have got, not we have got blackouts, but we have got load shedding that has been persistent to the extent that we are now taking it as if it's normal. And you can't grow an economy when you have got energy shortage. So it is a factor that someone should look at as a driver of growth, right? So these are just 1, 2, 3 things that I can mention. But by the end of the day, there is one thing that is important. If you can't challenge it, you won't enjoy it. Thank you so much.